We'll start with an opening statement from Coach and then take questions after.
Yeah, we got a big one Saturday. Kentucky. They got really talented players. You know, we've played some good bigs. You know, you go through Sissoko at Michigan State, played UConn, played Gonzaga. Tell me, they've played three of the best bigs in the country. Now we've got returning National Player of the Year. So, we've had a little bit of experience playing bigs. We haven't been totally successful with all of them. Obviously, we lost 2 of those 3 games I just listed, so we got to do a little bit better job. I think Charles will be better. We got to have more than Charles ready to go against them. You know, in the past couple of years, Kentucky maybe hasn't shot the ball as well as maybe this year. That's not an issue. They're leading the SEC in 3-point percentage, so you know, we can't let their shooters get off. Casey Wallace is playing really well for them. Severe Wheeler, in my opinion, makes their offense go. He kind of gets in the lane and creates offense for the other guys, and he's shooting the ball a lot better. You know, he's fairly selective with his threes, but he's shooting 42% from 3. You know, Livingston's a really good freshman. You know, him and Brandon kind of, they're 3-man. Brandon's our 3-man. You know, 2 really good freshmen will be going at it. So, looking forward to the game. You know, we've had big games here. I think this one will be as big as any this year. You know, this is a big game against a team that was picked to compete for a national championship, and it's an SEC play. If we're trying to compete for an SEC championship, this is a game that's at home that we need to figure out a way to win. And it's not going to be easy. They're a good team.
Start with Michael.
Kentucky fans are getting a little restless with this team. Is this a different Kentucky team that you're used to seeing?
I mean, that's part of being at Kentucky. I think they're not number 1 in the country. I think the fans get a little restless. So I mean, this is a good team. What have they lost? 3 games this year? 4. Yeah, I mean, to me, they played a good schedule. They're good. I mean, I think they fixed some of their, you know. I think they were upset they didn't have enough shooting before. Now they're leading the SEC in 3-point percentage. So I don't. They're spoiled. It's probably like Alabama football fans, to be honest with you. Like, we're not in the college football playoffs, and everybody's upset and act like it's a bad year. And we were right. I mean, shoot, I don't know what the final football polls were, but after I watched those 2 games previous, it looked like we might be in the top 3 or 4 teams in the country still, and people are upset around here. Well, Kentucky's not in the top 3 or 4. People are probably upset there. They're a really good team, though.
Nick.
Yeah, I think they're the number 4 offensive rebounding team in the country. What's going to be the points of emphasis there for you guys to win there?
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're and you know what, their offense is actually really good. If you go to KenPom right now, their offense is ahead of our offense. So, you know, I'm not quite sure what their fans are restless about, because I think their offense, you look at their effective field goal percentage, it's high because they're making shots. So like I said, they're leading the SEC in 3-point percentage. If they miss, they don't turn the ball over much. If they do miss, they get a bunch of their rebounds. Sheboy's averaging 8 offensive rebounds a game himself in league play. So our points of emphasis have been, you know, we got to keep them off the glass. If you can't keep them off the glass, we're going to be in some trouble. If we're expecting like Charles or Clowney or Pringle to be able to keep Sheboy off the glass one-on-one by themselves, it's going to be a long night for us. We got to have guards and wings get in, help rebound the ball on the defensive end. Like, it's got to be a 5-person effort. And we had 9 offensive boards ourselves against Ole Miss. Sheboy's had a game in SEC play where he had 9 himself. He's averaging 8. So, you know, their offense is right now. If you look at KenPom, more efficient than our offense. So we've got a lot of work to do defensively. We got to keep them out of transition. They've got more transition opportunities than we've had this year. So they play fast. They get on the old boards, and we've got some guys that can make shots. I mean, yeah, we tried to recruit some of these kids. I mean, you know, Casey Wallace is really good. He played with Riley Griffith in high school. He's shooting the ball really well, playing great for him. But, you know, transfer from Illinois State, we tried to we could be shooting the ball well for them too. I mean, they went after shooters like we went after shooters, and they were able to get some pretty good shooters.
Austin.
Yeah, Chuck obviously wasn't going to tell us the plan around Bediako, but what kind of makes a challenge, guarding a guy, stopping a guy like that, that usually outworks everybody else on the floor?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna tell you the plan either, to be honest with you. I don't think they're watching this press conference, you guys are a little mistaken, but we obviously don't want him to get a bunch of touches. I mean, the more he catches the ball deep in the post, the more problems it's gonna be for us. So limiting his touches is a big deal. Once he gets it, I think Charles has done a decent job guarding him. If he didn't get it too deep, but the issue is, when you say you want to limit his touches and then you front him, well, if you front him, then you're opening up a bunch of offensive rebounds. So if you stay behind them so you can box them out better, then you got a double. Well, they do have pretty good shooting. You look at Wheeler shooting 42%. Casey Wallace is, about 45%. Toppin hasn't made a ton of threes, but he can make jumpers. Livingston can make a shot. Reeves off the bench, is shooting the ball really well. So yeah, they've got a good team. Honestly, I think their issues this year have been a lot more on the defensive end. People want to make something of their offense. I think their offense hasn't been. Apparently, a few games they've struggled a little bit offensively. I think some of their losses have been more defensive issues, and I think they've got the athletes to guard, and I think they'll probably be pretty motivated coming in here with what we're ranked, and it's typically the other way around where we, Alabama would be the unranked team and they'd be the ranked team. So my guess is they're gonna have a chip on their shoulder. That certainly helps with the defensive end.
Johnny.
Hey, Coach, I know you follow the analytics very closely. Is there some times when Sheboy is kind of getting into a rhythm and he's playing low on the block where you're just saying, hey, if he's shooting twos, we're not worried about their shooters kicking out threes? Is that something that you're willing to live with, having him have a big day on the stat sheet?
Yeah, that's definitely something we've talked about because, giving up open threes, the guy shooting over 40% from threes is not a recipe for success. I mean, it's easy math. 40% from threes, 1.2. If you're giving up 1.2 points per possession, you're going to lose the game. So, Sheboy's scoring half his points in there, that's a 1.0. The issue is if he misses, he's getting his own miss a lot too. So you don't want him in there, and he's an adequate passer. I wouldn't say he's a great passer, but he's definitely adequate. So you've got to be careful with doubling. I mean, watched the end of the Purdue-Iowa State game last night. I mean, Edie's a little different than Sheboy, but Edie's one of those bigs that if you're going to play a one-on-one, it's hard to stop one-on-one. So they throw the ball into Edie. Ohio State doubles, he throws it out. They make a three, they win the game. It's kind of, you got to have different. And I also think good players, smart players, you give them the same dose of everything the whole game, they start to figure it out. So we're going to have to. We've got different options that we'll have to go to and see how he reacts to each of them.
Chase.
You don't mind, I'm going to jump back to the Ole Miss game really quick. There was this kind of a silly moment early in the game where Ole Miss takes a shot, the ball gets wedged in the side of the rim. You got 3 or 4 guys go to the other end, think it's a turnover. Brandon Miller knows what's going on. He's like, guys, what are you doing? Is that a good awareness on his part, or do you give the other guys some grief for not knowing that's a possession error play?
I think that was one of those deals where, you're playing pickup and guys probably don't know the rules. I mean, that's a jump ball. We had won the tip, and it was early in the game, so I knew there hadn't been a jump yet, so it's going to be their ball and possession arrow. Our guys, whether it's defense gets the jump ball and pick up or whatever, they're all head the other way. I don't know what they were thinking, to be honest with you. Brandon's pretty smart. Brandon probably knew the rules. Maybe Brandon heard me tell him to get back down here. We got to guard somebody. But it wasn't just our guys headed the other way. The entire Ole Miss team, I think, was down on the other half of the floor, thinking that it was going to be our ball too. So yeah. I mean, Brandon's smart. Brandon's intuitive. We got a lot of smart players, to be honest with you, though. So I was kind of surprised. But it's not the first time we've had to tell them what the rules were. They don't know the rules all at all. They argue calls with us in practice, and I got to explain to them what the rules are sometimes. So
I was hoping he'd be in here today. I was going to ask him if he gave any grief about that.
I forgot that happened, to be honest with you, until you brought it up. I think we got a stop on that possession, if I remember. So after we got the stop, we're good to go. We had the other end play offense.
Tony?
You mentioned the expectations surrounding Kentucky, but you're the ranked team in this matchup. Just how close do you guys think that this program is from being that team that people see, oh, this is Alabama, you know, this is what we need to expect to be this brand? And then also right now, just as the number 7 team, do you guys kind of see yourself as the bad guys in the block? I mean, being one of the
No.
top ranked teams?
It's still Kentucky. I think you'd have to do this for year after year after year. Now, I will say this, I think people's memory gets a little shorter here. Like, Kentucky's Kentucky, they've been doing it for multiple years, especially since Cal took over. So, you know, we won the SEC 2 years ago. We were middle of the pack last year, middle of the pack the year before, and we've got to do this for multiple years in a row to get to where I feel like people are gonna look at us like they look at Kentucky, to be honest with you. So when we get into recruiting battles, people aren't looking at us like we're Kentucky right now. I can assure you. Now, we've been able to recruit pretty well. Brian's Pelway done a really good job bringing some good talent in here, but Kentucky's still got a little bit of a, not a little bit, Kentucky still definitely has the persona about being Kentucky. So, but we're there this year. I mean, talk about our guys this year. Got really good players. We've done a really good job getting them to buy and play together. The players have done a great job putting ourselves in a spot where we are the number 7 team in the country. And Kentucky's got really talented players. They're going to play us really tough, and they they've dropped a few that maybe they wish they wouldn't have dropped, and they're trying to fight and claw their way back in it. It's going to be a war tomorrow.
James?
You talked earlier about facing big men, and obviously a lot of attention's going to Sheway right now, rightfully so, but also Jake Toppin, the freshman's having a good start to the year. How difficult is it to prepare for 2 big men where you're really not seeing that as much in college basketball anymore?
You're not. Toppin's not a freshman, so were you thinking about the other kid? What were you thinking?
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Toppin's are starting 4. That's
Yeah.
a
Living
freshman
system.
kid.
At the top, and I got him.
Okay, no, you're good. So Sheway's returning national player of the year, like you said. He's like one of the top, maybe the best big man in the country. Toppin's a little different. Like, they aren't posting him a lot, when he's only hit 4 threes on the year. But, he can definitely make mid-range shots. He's all over the glass. He's athletic. He can drive it. He can attack the rim. So we're going to play him a lot different than we would Sheway. But, he's another threat on the floor. I mean, they're looking to throw him lobs. So they're not going to bring in 2 post-up bigs and play them together a whole lot. I mean, the spacing gets a little messed up when that happens. So I don't think we have to worry about them playing 2 post-up bigs at the same time. But I mean, shoot, we're certainly not ignoring Toppin. I mean, he's one of their better players. He's they're a little bit similar to us, though. We're starting 3 freshmen, they're starting 2, and their freshmen are, Sheway's obviously the player of the year last year, but Kasem Wallace's numbers are as good as anybody on their team, and then Livingston's playing really well for them too. So they've got a really good starting group. They only played 7 guys last game though, so you got Reeves off the bench. I don't know if Frederick will play again or not, and it's hard to tell whether Lance Ware didn't play last game. So they when they're healthy, they're a little deeper, but they didn't use much depth last game. So we'll see how many days they actually end up playing here this game.
In the back?
Hey, Coach. Charles got the hard hat last week despite fouling out. Obviously, his efforts were important in winning last week, but how can you kind of find that happy medium and still play that elite defense, but still also be available late in the game when you're obviously going to need him?
Listen, when he fouled out, I thought a couple of those calls were questionable. They were worse than questionable, if you want my opinion on it. I think he got a little, I thought he went straight vertical on a few of them, and if you look at his fouls, it wasn't from guard to post. They were like helping, guards got beat, So what, he has to help at that point. If the guard gets beat, he's anchored in the paint side, like, if he steps up and jumps straight up and down and goes vertical, that's what he's supposed to do. He's a shot blocker. I didn't think he was bad, like swinging down. Now, one or two of them, he needs to play in his stance a little bit better, stay in front of the ball and be squared up, because if he gets turned a little bit, they tend to call fouls on the defense. But look, he may get in foul trouble. I mean, he's gotta do what he's gotta do to anchor the defense. He's gotta go protect the rim, he's gotta block a shot, he's gotta do it with the best form, everything we've taught him on staying vertical. If he does all that and they still call foul on him, that's out of his control and he can't do anything about it, like, is what it is. That's why, he's also in foul trouble at Mississippi State, and Pringles stepped up, played 20 minutes and was great for us. We've gotta have multiple bigs ready to go. Sheboy obviously picks up a lot of fouls, so Charles is gonna have to guard him, Pringle's gonna have to guard him, Clowney may have to guard him. None of them are gonna be as strong as Sheboy is. Most guys Sheboy plays against aren't as strong as he is. So we're gonna have to use, we're gonna have to bring some help, we're gonna have to double him, we're gonna have to use our quickness, athleticism, get around him some. Charles can use his length to try to make him score over him, so different guys are gonna give him different looks, but Charles has to do what Charles does best for us, and that's protect the rim and kinda anchor our defense. And if he ends up picking up a foul here or there, or like 4 or 5 fouls, it is what it is, but he's gotta do what he does best for us.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks.